In this video, we're going to look at the real gladiators. In ancient Rome, many of the real gladiators were actually black. That's right, folks. Many Romans were dark-skinned, and mitochondrial DNA from skeletons in early Roman London shows that Africans were among the first people to live there. Gladiators were often prisoners of war, slaves, or criminals. They could also be paid volunteers who may have made up the majority of gladiators by the late Republic. Gladiator schools offered a trade, food, and housing to the poor and non-citizens. That's right, folks. There were black gladiators. They were referred to as Nubians and were apparently quite rare and prestigious. So special gladiatorial events consisting of all black gladiators were considered to be highly extravagant and an unseemly show of wealth by the sponsors.
In classical antiquity, Greek and Roman writers were acquainted with people of every skin tone, from very pale, associated with populations from Scythia, to very dark, associated with populations from sub-Saharan Africa. People described with words meaning black or Ethiopites are occasionally mentioned throughout the empire in surviving writings, and people with very dark skin tones and tightly curled hair are depicted in various artistic modes. Other words for people with other skin tones were also used. Skin tones did not carry any social implications, and no social identity, either imposed or assumed, was associated with skin color. Although the color black was associated with ill omens in the ancient Roman religion, racism, as understood today, developed only after the classical period.
As we have said many times in our previous videos, this racism as we know it today between blacks and whites and all other races is a new phenomenon. There was no such thing as people being superior based on skin color, and we know that that is just not true. It is simply not true. No one is superior based on the color of one's skin. That is simply not true.
The ancients did not fall into the era of biological racism. Black skin color was not a sign of inferiority. Greeks and Romans did not establish color as an obstacle to integration in society. An ancient society was one that, for all its faults and failures, never made color the basis for judging a man. In classical antiquity, terms such as affair, marus, niger, ater, fuscus, perustus, or melas were commonly used in reference to darker tone physical characteristics encountered in daily life around the Mediterranean. The term Ethiopites referred to particularly dark-skinned peoples, first recorded as early as Homer. Homer presented them as remote, almost legendary figures that inhabited the far reaches of the known world. No ancient writer attempted the detailed human classifications of pseudo-scientific racism, and no exact definition of the term Ethiopites is recorded. Early contacts with such populations were along the Nile and with the civilization of the kingdoms of Nubia. Skin color was not necessarily a factor during this time in terms of social hierarchy in the Roman Empire. The population was predominantly white, not because of prejudice or genocide, but rather by the fact that Roman territory was mostly European. A prime example of a highly regarded black Roman would be Terence, an African of Berber descent. He wrote only comedic plays, all 6 of which survive to this day.
Yes, Africans like Terence were brought to the empire as slaves, but not because of any racist motives. Rather, people captured from the Carthaginian Empire after the Punic Wars were sold off as slaves.
It just so happened that they were black. Germanic peoples from the various skirmishes across the Rhine and Danube were equally taken as prisoners and slaves. For the most part, any blacks in Roman territory were either spoils of war or just another group of people living in the Rome-ruled North African provinces. There was no judgment based on skin color, but rather social standing.
So you see, folks, black people absolutely were a part of the gladiator and were some of the greatest fighters of that day. And yes, folks, black people come from everywhere, even Rome. The Black Excellence and Abundance channel, where black history is every day. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And remember, never forget, Thou art rich.